Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Get off this land, you horrible, common, filthy scum!
Take more picture.
You want to tell your mates to not find people over? You did, I've got it all on camera. All on camera? All on camera.
Nearly fucking knocked me over.
Footpaths at the top, love. Footpaths at the top, love.
Hey, AJ.
Footpaths at the top, love. Footpaths at the top. Footpaths at the top. Huh?
No, I didn't think so. You look like a woman. And you? What are you, a boy or a girl? Back to the road. You should be back to the road. You should be back to the road. You really should be back to the road. This is private property. It should be back to the road. We're filming all of this with you using horses as weapons. Get back on the road. It should be back to the road. It should be. Get off the road. Stop! You to get off the road. Get off the road!
Let go!
Get off the road! Let go of that fucking off! Get off it! Let go of the off! Get off it! You cannot ride people down.
Get back on the fucking road! Get back on the 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 road!
Wait. Whoa.
It should be back to the road.
Wait, leave it. Leave it. Leave it, mate.
Get off my horse! Stop! You to get off the horse! Get off the horse! Get the fuck off it now!
Whoa.
Get off the fucking horse! Get off it! Get off it! Get off it! Well, don't grab fucking horses!
Don't charge horses into people. You cannot ride people down. You cannot ride people down.
Fuck off!
And that's exactly what just happened.
Go back to the footpath! Go to the road!
Don't ride me down. I'm crashing. Don't touch me. It's assault.
No, you didn't!
I'm not.
I won't ever touch you. You're a lady. Why would I touch you?
Nothing to do with that, is it? Assault is assault, bro.
Get back to the road!
Watch your back, sir. We've got loon in between here coming.
Watch out behind us. Whoa, 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 whoa. She's charging, everyone.
Back!
You're shite at controlling your horse.
Just go back to the road. You're all safe,
Go around, Joy. No worries.
You're all safe. The horse can go away from the road.
Just go back to the road. Any problem is it?
You need to have a word with your mate there. That's pretty bad, that.
List of all, well, is it short? I don't know, actually. Probably quite a long list of all the things that I've changed my mind about live on the radio after being schooled by you. Animals would be quite high up on the list. It was an email. I don't know if you remember. I don't think I've mentioned this for a while. I've got so many new listeners now. You know we're over 1 million. It's astonishing, isn't it? About 110, 120,000 people listening to this programme when I started. Now over 1 million a week. So thank you. But that means I can tell some of my old anecdotes again, because there'll be at least, you know, a relatively high number of people hearing them for the first time. Do you remember the one about the Chinese restaurant and my dad punishing me? No, all right, I saved that. Or the Terry's chocolate orange. I've forgotten the one I was going to tell you now. I'm too busy going off on tangents and talking absolute gibberish. The point at which I regretted, because I used to do this thing that is popular in the world of I suppose slightly less sophisticated commentary, a little bit more tabloid perhaps than broadsheet, where you don't really think things through. You just find an attractive target and then you amuse the crowd by hurling rotten tomatoes at it. And I picked some pretty shameful targets back in the day. I picked fat people, and I picked people who are, to my mind then, unhealthily fond of their pets. I don't know why I did the second one, if I'm honest with you, because when I was growing up I had a cat that I absolutely adored. And I guess I just kind of had this image in my head of either sort of people with 10 cats or people who preferred their dog to their husband. And I'll tell you precisely the point at which I can't, do you know, I'm not sure I have told you this before, because it's a little bit shameful on my part. No, I must have done. And we did one of my regular, let's all laugh at people who love their pets too much topics, which usually culminated in me saying, you do realise that if they were locked in a room with your corpse, they'd eat you, which I for some reason thought was very funny back in the day. I was very young. You'll have to forgive me. And I got an email off an older gentleman. I think he mentioned his age, but I'm not going to pretend I can remember exactly what it was. But he'd been recently widowed, and he sent me the most mannered and measured of emails, in which he simply said, I know that you don't understand why some people love their dogs so much, James. I just want to let you know that I lost my wife 6 months ago, and if it wasn't for my 2 dogs, and he named them, if it wasn't for my 2 dogs, I honestly don't think I would have made it. And I thought, O'Brien, you are a cretin. You really are. You spend your life criticising people who unthinkingly and unfeelingly cause misery and pain for others. And then something as casual as a comment about, oh yeah, how can anyone love their dog that much? And thankfully you forgave me, because you sent me lots of messages about loneliness and about the support that a pet can provide in the most difficult of circumstances. So I had already started undertaking that rather epic reverse ferret when Mrs. O'Brien, in her wisdom, decided to buy a dog. So we now have 2 cats, a dog. We had 2 chickens, but they got killed by a fox. Hold that thought, all right? We had chickens, but they got killed by a fox, and we've got about 7 fish as well. It's a veritable menagerie, our house now. And while I'm still fonder of my children than I am of my pets, I will never again mock or humiliate or seek to humiliate anybody who loves their dog to the nth degree, or any other animal. But that bit there about the fox killing my chickens is relevant to the conversation that I want to have now, because there is some footage, and the case, no charges have been brought yet, so we can talk about this. I think, is the film at the website? Is it? So there is there's some film at the website you can go and have a look at, lbc.co.uk. And there is footage of a huntswoman, so a woman who's gone hunting, dressed in the full regalia, the black coat, white trousers. You know that, you know the score. And she has a riding crop with her. And after appearing to direct her horse towards some so-called saboteurs, one of them, who's wearing a balaclava helmet, seeks to grab the reins of her horse. At which point she sets about him with a riding crop, and another masked activist rushes in front of the horse, grabs hold of the bridle as she does appear to, I think the word is spur her horse towards a man who's recording the incident. But then this bloke, so I'm not here to talk about the rights or the wrongs of necessarily what was being filmed or whether they should be filming it. It happened in East Sussex on the Pevensey Marches, and it's the South Downs Hunt Saboteurs who clashed with members of the East Sussex and Romney Marsh Hunt Club. And I don't know a lot about animal rights activists, and part of me doesn't want to, but they do seem to hold horses in a much lower regard than foxes when they embark upon these acts of sabotage, when they embark upon these missions. And sometimes it seems to me, the huntsmen and women are actually prioritising the safety of the saboteurs, who probably don't know one end of a horse from another. So on this occasion, and go and have a look at the footage and tell me what you think. On this occasion, she was encouraging the saboteurs to get back to the road, to get out of the field, presumably a field in which several tons of galloping horse could appear at any moment. And there is a second clip in which she appears to be sort of aiming her horse at demonstrators from behind. But if you're trying to sabotage a hunt, then aren't you deliberately putting yourself in the way of horses? The problem here seems to me to be she's trying to get them to clear off, either because they want to crack on with doing whatever it is they're doing, or because she has concerns about their safety. But the moment, the point, the instant at which this character grabs the horse's bridle, I would argue he is endangering himself, the horse, and the horse's rider. And that is why I think she was within her rights to set about him with a riding crop. Leaving aside for the moment that some people would pay hundreds of pounds in the back streets of Soho for that sort of treatment, she does pretty much lay into him with a riding crop. I am cautiously on the side of the huntswoman, but I'm conscious of the fact this may involve me painting a rather large target on my backside and inviting you to come and take pot shots at it. So come on, pot shot away. 0345 6060973. You remember the Hunting Act in 2004. I think in retrospect, a relatively lazy and cynical piece of legislation designed to feed more of a sort of class or city versus country-based ideology than anything that truly recognised the rights of foxes. And it banned hunting and killing with hounds. You are, however, still allowed to drag hunt, which means that you can set a scented trail and get the dogs to follow that, or you can wait until the dogs have flushed a fox out, and rather than allowing the dogs to tear the fox to shreds, you are empowered under the Hunting Act 2004 to shoot the fox. The Countryside Alliance have said that hunts are still plagued by balaclava-clad animal rights activists who intimidate and harass hunt supporters and landowners, and I think I agree. So what I need to know, really, in the first instance, is from horsemen and women, how big a deal it is for somebody unknown to the horse in relatively emotional circumstances to come up and grab your beast's bridle. Because if it is as bad as it appears to be to me, then I'm afraid this woman setting about this character with her riding crop seems to me to be completely within her rights. So that's your starter for 10. Hit the numbers now. You will get through. 0345 6060973. Broader question is, why do they care so much about foxes and so little about horses? 0345 6060973. And my favourite issue on this is, I mean, genuinely, because I can be as anthropomorphic as the next fella. I remember before we had our chickens, last time there was snow around, like deep snow around in London, 3 baby foxes came out the back. I've got a big kind of glorified shed at the bottom of the garden, like an office, and it has passageways down both sides to allow access, and 3 baby foxes came round I call them baby foxes. Again, it sounds a little bit anthropomorphic, doesn't it? Fox cubs. In the snow, cubs, so they're still so young and cute, they haven't gone all mangy and dirty looking, frolicking with each other in the snow in my back garden. 3 gorgeous, gorgeous little fox cubs. And it's like a scene off a biscuit tin or a Christmas card. From, for example, Paper Chase, which I gather is a rather excellent purveyor of greetings cards. I shall certainly be visiting mine soon. But that was gorgeous. And I think all I've ever come up with in the context of animal rights is that foxes are cute and rats aren't. Because I have never in my life been aware of anybody boycotting Rent-A-Kill or insisting that the rat killers or the pest control officers employed by most councils and many private sector companies. I happen to know a rather excellent one based in Fulham if you need a personal recommendation ever. I've never known any of them to be particularly troubled by the kind of characters who will turn up at a fox hunt and start hitting horses or at least grabbing them boisterously. 0345 6060973 is the number that you need. If I was on a horse and somebody grabbed it, am I right in thinking they'd be endangering themselves, my horse and me? In which case, my top priority is to get them to let go, and I might, I think, be forgiven for using my riding crop to do that. So that's your start of a 10. 03456060973. Number 2 is, why do they care so much about foxes and so little about horses and or rats? It's another one of my hardy perennial anecdotes coming up, isn't it? I made a pilot for Channel 4 a few years ago that sort of unique, actually, in my experience, having been involved in more doomed pilots than the Japanese Air Force. This was the only one that's ever been commissioned before the pilot was made and then uncommissioned after the pilot had been filmed. Because at the beginning, there was a chap in full shadow, you know, silhouette, who was a high-profile hunt saboteur. And this was a very early attempt to cast me as some sort of arch-inquisitor on the telly. I was far too young to do it. I looked about 12. But they kind of wanted me. It was late-night Channel 4, and they wanted a kind of tough, hard-hitting show. So I thought, I'll go in with my hardy perennial question on this issue. And I said, could you just tell me, Mr. Saboteur in Silhouette, why you dedicate so much time to pursuing people who kill foxes, but no time at all to pursuing people who kill hundreds of thousands of rats every year? And I presume that things would kick off now. That's what I was there for. I'm supposed to light the blue touch paper and set back as the studio explodes. And you know what happened? There's this awful pause. It's the second worst thing that can happen in a studio-based debate. The worst thing that can happen is that the bloke who's been booked to say X, when you turn to him at the beginning of a debate, actually says Y. I had that relatively recently as well. And the bloke had been sort of speaking to the producers about how lazy British workers were. And the whole point of the debate was I'd turn to him and say, why do you employ so many European Union workers? And he bottled it and just started talking about how good they were instead of talking about how lazy the British workers were, which was the point at which I was going to tear his throat out. So it all went a bit weird. But on this occasion, the bloke just stayed silent. Why do you spend so much time going after people who kill foxes and no time at all going after people who kill rats? And there's this dreadful pause. I'm tempted to actually do it in real time, but we've got an emergency tape that kicks in if there's too much silence on the station for too long, and it's a bit incongruous for you to hear Steve Allen's dulcet tones floating out of your radio at 16 minutes after 11. So there's a long pause, live studio environment, as live, bloke in silhouette because he's so violent and vicious and passionate about his cause. Why do you spend so much time going after foxes, people who kill foxes, and not people who kill rats? He said, I've never really thought of it like that. And the whole debate fell to pieces at that point. That was it, game over. He was supposed to be leading the offence. All the people in the defence collapsed in fits of giggles, and we kind of had to stop the cameras and start all over again. So there's some questions there for you to answer. I hope you can remember what they are. It's 11:17.
It should be back. We're filming all of this with you using horses as weapons. Get back on the road. It should be back to the road. It should be. Get off the horse. Stop! You to get off the horse. Get off the horse. Let go! Get off the fucking horse. Get off it! Let go of you! Get off it! Get off the horse. Cannot ride people down.
Get back on the fucking road. Get back on the 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 road.
Wait. Whoa.
It should be back to the road.
Wait, leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it, mate.
Get off the horse. Stop. You to get off the horse. Get off the horse. Get the fuck off it now!
Whoa!
Get off the fucking horse! Get off it! Get off it! Get off it! Well, don't grab fucking horses!
Don't charge horses into people! You cannot ride people down!
And I have a professor of international law on line 2, to whom I'm very keen to speak about Britain losing its seat in the International Court of Justice for the first time since 1946. But before that, Victoria's been waiting for ages, so we'll kick off the Fox conversation, and then we'll talk about the International Court of Justice. Light and shade. Light and shade is what it's all about. 21 minutes after 11. It means, Victoria in Thaxted, that I won't detain you for too long. But what made you pick up the phone?
Oh, James, I feel so passionately about this. The adrenaline is surging through me and I'm shaking.
Well, just from talking to me?
Oh, no, I am a massive fan, but this issue... Can we just be absolutely clear? The best thing that ever happened to these men in balaclavas is that she warded them off with a hunting whip. What they're doing was endangering their own lives and hers. It is lethal. It is reckless. It is ludicrous.
Blimey.
We have in the media about women being touched on the knees by men. We have in the Daily Mail last week CCTV footage of a woman walking through Leeds in the dark and a man 10 foot behind her. But when two men in balaclavas, how does she know they're not going to physically pull her off? These men carry knives sometimes, they slash horses.
Well, not. I mean, you speak of the general tribe of saboteurs. I don't want you to make any illusions.
I'm very well acquainted
No,
with all
I'm sure you are, but I bearing in mind that it's me that gets sued, not you. We don't know anything about the characters involved in the footage that we are talking about.
I'm not.
So, look, two things. The first up, I love this, because when you described the levels of passion and adrenaline that were coursing through your veins...
Potentially saving their
But I didn't know which way you were going to go. I didn't know whether you were going to be massively furious with one side or with the other. So you speak as a horsewoman, Victoria, I suspect.
A sensible woman trying to take immediate action to limit damage. That horse could have spun round and kicked either one of them.
This was my amateurish view, actually. This was my amateur.
They could have been dead in seconds, and she could have been dead in seconds. And if that horse had then set the others off, and a car came, 5 of them could have been dead in seconds. And then a horse could have run into another hunt saboteur, and then a horse could have jumped into a windscreen on the bonnet of a car.
I sense you agree with me.
I could, but it's black and white. It's
well, I don't say it's black and white because I live in the grey areas. You know that.
Lethal.
Well, it looks lethal to me. Have you seen the footage or just the stills?
I've seen everything.
Because she does seem to steer the horse towards them at one point. But you would argue she's doing that because she desperately, in their own interest, wants them to get out of the road.
She's bloody petrified. How would you feel if you were walking down the King's Road and 2 blokes in balaclavas start to approach you?
I think you make a brilliant point. I genuinely, a lot of people think that I kind of manufacture my sort of sympathy for hunts.
She's got, what, how many seconds has she got? 2, 3 minutes.
Exactly.
Is she going to be dragged
How
off?
much would that horse weigh? How much would that horse weigh, roughly?
The one I saw, about 535 kilograms.
So that could land on the saboteur who thinks that he's somehow sticking up.
Fast, they're fight or flight. If they'd have grabbed the reins, the horse could have leapt forward and broken both their legs, and they'd have been in hospital. And then our NHS resources would have been drained again. An ambulance going to save the saboteur when the saboteur
bandages.
And it's not his property.
No.
The horse's reins. They're not his property. They are invading her personal space, touching the rest. You don't pull the windscreen wipers off somebody's car.
Don't ring in if you've had the windscreen wipers pulled off your car by angry cyclists or couriers, because Victoria's employing a figure of speech. I'm glad I've made you chuckle, because I don't feel as passionately about this as you do, because I'm neither a huntsman nor
it's lethal. And also,
yes, no, hang on. I've got a professor of international law on the other line, Victoria. I've got a crack on. What?
We haven't even started on this. We need to talk about animal welfare.
I know. Why do they care so much about foxes and not at all about horses?
Because they look like domestic dogs and cats.
It's just all about cuteness.
It's all about cuteness.
Right, leave it with me, Victoria. Seriously, I'm going to fight your corner with renewed vigour. Although Juan, my friend who comes in to clean up the studio just after Nick leaves, he's convinced I'm on a hiding to nothing with this one. He thinks I've better. This time, James, he says you've bitten off more than even you can chew. He's very much on the side of the saboteur, but I'm still with Victoria. 25 minutes after 11. Professor William Shabas is a professor of international law at Middlesex University, and this isn't a crunching gear change at all. He's here to talk to us about the news this morning that Britain has lost its seat on the UN Court, the International Court of Justice, since the body was created for the first time since 1946. Can I ask you very much a layman's question, William, if that's all right with you, to start off?
Certainly. Please go ahead.
Thank you. How big a deal is this?
Well, it's a big development. It's not just the first time that Britain hasn't got a seat on the International Court of Justice. It's the first time that any of the permanent members of the Security Council haven't been elected. So it's kind of a sea change at the International Court of Justice. It's a big development, and it's it's unfortunate because he's a fine judge, but then it was a down to the wire, and there were 2 candidates, and the other guy who was elected is a pretty good judge too. So
does it just speak of a general shift in the world order? It was an Indian justice who will go through after Sir Christopher Greenwood withdrew following his defeat in the first round of a runoff. What on earth is going on in the background, Professor?
Well, it is part of that. I mean,
not the background of the story. The background of this phone call. It sounds like somebody's sort of whipping a mule behind you. There's a strange sound effect. Is that not coming to you?
I'm sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
You know, I'm in a classroom at the break, and I told the students to be quiet. While I'm talking
tell them to carry on being quiet. This is all. I love it. So is it an overall shift in the world order, or is this a specific embarrassment to Britain, as some people are perhaps a bit unseemly keen to suggest?
It's probably a bit of both.
Okay.
It's probably a bit of both going on. And there have been other defeats for Britain in recent years, in the last year or two at the United Nations, which have shown that the time when they could count on having those positions is no longer. They can't take them for granted. Of course, these elections are all quite political.
Yes.
And it's not as if, they look at the CVs of the best candidates and decide who should be a judge on the court. There's a lot of political horse trading going on. And I suppose Britain just doesn't have as many chips as it had in the past to do those deals.
Which leads us inevitably to a sort of Brexit-related question, in that we are being assured by many prominent Brexit campaigners that we're going to assume a new importance on the world stage, and that we become a global power now in a way that we were prevented from becoming as members of the European Union. This would appear to at least cast something of a shadow over that prediction.
Yeah, this would be evidence of the opposite going on.
Oh, you'd go that far, would you?
Well, evidence. I'm not saying that it's certainly evidence that the days when Britain was one of the big 5 in the world and could count on these positions, which were pretty much assumed that they had an entitlement to. It doesn't seem that's the case anymore.
And forgive my ignorance. How do we get back?
Well, yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. This may be the kind of a permanent development, and it may not just be the United Kingdom. It may affect other countries too. France has had a bit of this. France wasn't able to get a judge elected to the International Criminal Court 4 years ago. So this is something that, it can happen to other. It's happened to other big countries like the United Kingdom, but perhaps not as dramatically, and this is quite a dramatic development.
I suppose the wax and wane of international prestige. Professor William Shabas, I shall keep you from your students for no longer. They're very lucky to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's coming up to 11:30. Someone was getting caned in the background, I think, on that. Not in the modern sense of the word, in the old-fashioned Tom Brown schoolboy sense of the word, which is appropriate enough because we're talking about a hunt saboteur getting whipped, and we are cautiously suggesting at half-time during this conversation that he deserved it. 0345 6060 973, not as chastisement or punishment, you understand, but as a perfectly reasonable reaction to the grabbing of a half a ton of horses' bridle. And also, I thought Victoria was very powerful. The fact that there could be several more tons of horse coming swiftly through the glen, and these saboteurs could have been in the way. So when she tries to get them to get off the field, I've watched it, and I just think she did, albeit that she obviously didn't hold much love for them in her heart. She was acting out of their own interests, but I'm here to be corrected, not with a riding crop. How do you feel about whipping saboteurs, Maria? And not in the Daily Mail style, by which they mean MPs in our sovereign parliament seeking to do their democratic duty. They just get crushed. I mean, whipping saboteurs, as in people who seek to sabotage the hunts that are still permitted under the auspices of the 2004 Hunting Act. And look, I know I've got Achilles' heels. I've got genuine cognitive dissonance, for example, on grammar schools. All of the evidence, and I'm a big fan of evidence, all of the evidence is that they do not deliver benefits to the people who need it the most. But I still like them. I can't shake it, and it's a very rare example for me of thinking that somehow my intuitions must be more reliable than statistical evidence. So I do understand what supporting Brexit's a bit like when I get onto issues like that. But this isn't one of those. I genuinely don't feel anything particularly negative towards fox hunters. And you can give me all the horrible stories about being torn limb from limb. When a fox killed my chickens, Cherry and Ginger, don't give them a name. I did give them a name. They were pets. They weren't just sort of living lunch on hold. When a fox killed my 2 chickens, I could have killed the fox with my bare hands, or at least with a shovel. No problem at all. I didn't, for the record, before anyone rings the RSPCA, but I could have done it. Absolutely simple. Nature is red in tooth and claw, and hunt saboteurs seem to me to be endangering animals, i.e. horses, in order to make some weird anthropomorphic point about how cute foxes are, while barely spending a moment defending the rights of rats. Maria is in Milton Keynes. Maria, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello,
I'm a first-time caller, and I do love listening to you. But,
big butt coming. I love big butts. I cannot lie.
I've been out with hunt sabs, not for a couple of years, but I'm 50 years old. I'm getting a bit long in the tooth for it now.
Sure.
Traipsing across fields. Hunt saboteurs would not bother wasting their time following a hunt if they were not hunting foxes illegally.
Well, you, in your opinion, you don't think they would. I can't cast any aspersions in the absence of hard evidence on what was happening in the hunt that we're talking about. But in your experience, they would only pursue a hunt if they had suspicions that the hunt was in breach of the Hunting Act 2004.
They have evidence on a weekly basis.
Not specific to this case. Stop making me be the lawyer. Not specific to this case, but in your experience of their activities, they would have evidence that led them to believe that the Hunting Act 2004 was being broken.
It's flouted week in and week out.
But even so, you don't grab the bridle of half a ton of horse.
I keep horses also. I've never used my horse as a weapon, which is what that woman was doing. That huntswoman was using. She was trying to ride down hunt saboteurs, pure and simply because they don't want them there. They want them off the land because they are hunting.
But we're not. I know. I hear that, and I have to caution you to stop, because we are talking about a specific case, and we don't know anything that you're asserting. So I keep having to insert the caveat so I accept that in your experience things have happened that lead you to certain suspicions and conclusions, but this is potentially a legal case. They're investigating.
I have seen the video. I've watched it. I've seen it several times.
So if you were on your horse, forget about hunting, right?
Yeah.
If you were out on your horse and I came up in a balaclava helmet at full speed, shouting my head off, and grabbed your bridle and started yanking it, what would you do?
If I'd ridden my horse at you on more than one occasion...
No. I am yanking your bridle, Maria.
He only...
I'm yanking your bridle. Yank. What are you going to do?
Well, it's difficult because...
No, it isn't. I know what you're going to do. I know what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do.
I'm not, because I've never ridden my horse with a crop.
Oh.
I don't use a crop. I don't use a crop when I ride.
What would you do? Headbutt me?
Well, I'd have to get off my horse if I was going to do that.
I'm yanking your bridle. I'm now yanking it furiously. What are you going to do?
Worst case scenario, I'd get off my horse.
Yeah, I kind of sympathise with the a bit. If you don't want to get don't grab my bridle.
I won't grab your bridle if you won't ride your horse at me.
Yeah, but she's only trying to get them out of the way of the other horses that are around the corner, and therefore she's telling them to get on the road. If they were on the road, she wouldn't have tried to shepherd them roadwards.
They want them on the road because they're hunting illegally and they don't want.
You've done it again. You're going to get me sued. We do not know. We have no evidence whatsoever to support that assertion, my lad. Honestly. So why then, and I understand that you make points from a position perhaps of more knowledge than I have, but why do they care so much about foxes and not about other animals, these people?
They do care about other animals.
Rats.
They do care about other animals. As I said,
rats.
I am not... I don't know about rats, to be honest with you, but I'm not even vegetarian, let alone vegan.
Sure.
Every hunt saboteur I have met has been a vegan.
Right.
Every single one of them has been a vegan. Vegetarian at the very, very, very absolute least,
yes.
Sort of like... and they care about all animals. It's not just about,
Well, you say that. You say that. Simon's been in touch. His brother has given over a large part of his farm to become a nature reserve. That's why I'm going to call the garden. I'm going to tell Mrs. O'Brien that I've decided to give over...
Stop mowing the lawn.
I'm giving a large part of the garden over to a nature reserve. I'm just going to leave it alone. But he writes, the biggest offenders for killing British wildlife are mink, squirrels and foxes, which we have to control to the benefit of the reserve. The biggest offenders for destroying British wildlife, mink, and these so-called hunt saboteurs are responsible for releasing mink into the British countryside, so they really do know what they're doing, says Simon sarcastically.
Well, I mean, mink are horrendous, you know.
And they are released by the same kind of people that sabotage hunts.
Yes. They have been. I can't comment on that because that's something that I don't know anything about. You know, I've never encountered anything. I've never encountered anybody who's done anything either like that. As I said, you know, I did run with hunt sabs, and I watched so much footage. I mean, Atherstone hunt are terrible.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no circumstances in which you could excuse the use of the riding crop to save the horse from the saboteur.
I don't use a riding crop.
No, I know you don't. I'm talking about this woman.
Why is she using a prop for her horse?
To make it go faster. Even I know that.
Oh. No, come on.
1-1 then. You and Victoria have cancelled each other out in the pursuit of truth. Thank you for being so good-natured and kind. 11:42 is the time. 034. Actually, you're never going to get through, to be honest with you. I'll try and free up some phone lines by talking to quickly to some of the next callers. Jules is in... Is that pronounced Meepham or Mepham?
It's pronounced Mepham. M-E-O-P-H-A-M.
Yeah, I know where it is, but they've missed the O out, so I thought maybe it was a slightly... This isn't a criticism. Whenever I do this, it sounds like I'm criticising Rosie, but I'm not. I just thought it might be Mepham, spelt Meopham. What do you want to say, Jules?
No. James, we breed high-end dressage horses, and just looking at that short clip that was shown, A, it doesn't tell the whole picture.
No, it never can.
No, exactly. But if anybody grabs a horse there... Obviously, they take control of the horse directly away from the rider immediately, which puts everybody in danger. The woman could have squeezed the legs on and attempted to run through and snatch the bridle out of the guy's hand. However, that could have created other issues with the horse. But at the end of the day, common sense has got to prevail. And if you're rocking up to a female in balaclavas... A, you're out of order for a start. If you're a sab and you want to...
I don't know that they rocked up to her. I think she went looking for trouble, or at least either looking for trouble or looking to move them away from potential trouble.
All right, I've got no problems with anybody debating or protesting on a subject that's strong to their heart, but don't rock up in a balaclava. Be proud of...
Because that suggests that they're about to do so. They need to hide their identity. Why would they need to do that if they were behaving in an entirely legal and peaceable manner?
Puts everybody straight on the back foot.
Yeah, I get it. You didn't grow up in Mepham, did you, Jules?
You can tell from my dulcet tones now. I'm a country boy by heart.
You grew up near me. Where were we talking?
All of the country.
What were we talking? Dudley? No, Rowley Regis.
Bank, yeah.
Whereabouts?
No, Quarry Bank.
Was it really?
Quarry Bank.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Accent spotting 101. Superb. And just to freak you out even further, how long have you been in the dressage business?
Since 2005. Before that, I was a Royal Marine.
Were you really? Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
I don't know then if this is going to knock your socks off quite as much as I hoped it would. Have you heard of Ronnie Mazzarella?
No.
I see. He was the chef de keep of the Olympic show jumping team for many, many years. A legend in I know you do dressage, it's not quite the same. He's my godmother's dad.
Oh, fantastic.
Isn't it? Bit of royalty for you there. Bit of dressage or show jumping royalty for you. Jules, thank you. And it's 2-1. And I can't see, Maria's brilliant contribution notwithstanding, I can't quite see how anybody can excuse a fella grabbing half a ton of horse bridle and yanking it. It's all about the yanking. It's 11:45. We're 3 questions. It is a serious subject, although you'll understand, given the seriousness of politics at the moment, when we find ourselves discussing unpolitical stories, we allow a modicum of levity to creep in. A furious huntswoman whips a masked protester with a riding crop as he hangs on to her mount. And I'm not quite sure what else she could have done. Maria, herself a horsewoman, explained that she could have got off the horse and called the police or explained her unhappiness to the saboteurs. But how many people listening to this programme, if they found themselves accosted, for good or for ill, regardless of motivation, if they found themselves accosted by a burly fellow in a balaclava helmet, would render themselves more vulnerable to his attentions? I wouldn't. You know, if I was up a tree, I'd stay up the tree. I wouldn't come down and start trying to reason with the bloke. If I was on a horse, I'd stay on my horse. And if he grabs my bridle... So a couple of years since I've been on a horse. It's fun from a hobby of mine, but occasionally the kids like to do it on holiday and I go with them so that everyone can have a laugh. And I don't know what else. The riding crew, you've got my horse's bridle. You're seeking control of my beast. Therefore, I'm going to do everything I can to regain control of my half a ton of horse. You're yanking my bridle, you're going to get a slap. No? No, it's not quite as clean-cut as perhaps I thought it was. 11:51 is the time. Laura is in Chigwell. Laura, what would you like to say?
Hi there.
Hello,
I'm currently a hunt saboteur, but I'm also a professional in animal health and welfare and qualified in advanced equine. I just sort of wanted to say, something off of what you were just saying then made me think about how everyone's talking about how this woman was defending herself. And yes, I understand in that moment when you panic and you don't know what to do, you'll do what first comes to mind. However, nobody seems to be recognising that the guy himself was doing this. He was defending himself because many people are sharing the video that's been cut. But if you watch the full thing, she was riding her horses at people, and so she'll be the first to say, oh, horses are very dangerous. I just wanted you away from my horse. But that doesn't make any sense when you consider the fact that she was moving her horse towards the saboteurs.
So that they'd get out of the way. So that they'd get out of the way.
There's a massive field. They're not in the way. I'll tell you what happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
Is you're approaching an area of land where you know that they're hunting. You've heard the hounds go into cry. You know that the hounds have picked up a scent. They're chasing after a fox. So you start running across a field or something to get to that area.
Right.
Riders like her are placed out into the field to stop you. They don't want you to film them illegally hunting. So what they
you don't know that I appreciate you understand I've got legal requirements. So there may well be that there is that suspicion in place, but you can't state it as fact, okay?
Okay, but they're running over there because they suspect that they're hunting in the woods, and so riders like her are purely there to stop you from getting over, and that kind of builds your suspicion even more. Why are they trying to prevent you? And so what they do, and this happens every week, I see it every week, is they ride their horse at you. You know, you're trying to get around, and they're literally just using their horse as a weapon. And then what this woman was doing was riding her horse at Sav.
But there's I hear you. I'm sorry to interrupt. I fully understand what you're telling and describing. But I think for somebody like me who doesn't really have a dog in this race, if you pardon the pun, that there is a sort of chicken and egg type element to this, in that these human beings, the saboteurs, are deliberately putting themselves in danger and voluntarily putting themselves in danger.
Yes,
and yet it is the huntspeople that will be held responsible for any injuries sustained as a result of this deliberate and voluntary decision to put themselves in danger. And I'm glad you've rung in, because in many ways you tick all possible boxes. You clearly professionally and personally committed to equine welfare, but it seems to me that these saboteurs are not.
I don't know these saboteurs personally.
Well, what happens if I grab your bridle and start yanking it, to be a little glib?
What was I doing to
Doesn't
you
matter.
to make you do
Doesn't
that?
matter.
Well, of course it does. If I'm riding my horse at you and I'm trying to injure you with my horse, or I'm potentially going to, run you down with my horse, then I would expect you to probably grab the reins. That's probably what is going to happen.
Not just to get out of the way?
Well, you try and get out of the way, but no man is faster than a horse. When I say they ride at you, I mean they ride at you. You can try and duck and dive out the way all you want, but they ride at you because ultimately they want you to run away. They want you out of that field.
And that leads us to the question at the heart of this issue, which is in the most simplistic of terms, why don't they just run away? But I'm going to slightly.
Because we're there to protect animals, and
they think they are. So give me the.
I love rats.
Yes.
I love rats. I sabotage rat traps all the time.
How do you sabotage a rat trap?
Break them, get rid of them, throw them away. If I see any trap for any animal, it goes.
And when my friend and colleague Nick Ferrari's son nearly died after contracting Weil's disease from rat urine, how would you sort of explain to him your fun that you have?
The environment in which these rats were living.
So, rat urine is potentially fatal, as I'm sure you know. So, how do you explain to someone whose lives have been affected by that it's fun to sabotage the traps?
If an animal being responsible for somebody's illness and death warrants the death of that animal, then what do humans deserve for doing this to 152 billion animals every year on this planet?
Well, no, because you're conflating humanity with the animal world, which is. I mean, you're perfectly entitled to, but you don't get to take anybody else with you when you do that. Otherwise, you'd be arguing that you should be allowed to marry a horse, like Caligula.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, it makes exactly as much sense as your attempt to say, well, if a human kills an animal, then all the humans should be killed for killing animals. If an animal's killed a human...
I didn't say that.
It's a moral equivalent.
What the outcome would be.
No, but I don't see it the same. I'll help you if you want. I don't see a human killing an animal or an animal killing a human as remotely comparable things. keeping vermin away from human dwellings is I mean, not only a sensible but also an intrinsic part of civilization.
But the animals were there first. This is like people who... We have this with foxes too, and I did notice you say earlier, and I understand it. If someone has lambs or chickens or something and a fox comes and kills them, I understand straight away. You're like, oh, I want to kill that fox. But the fox was just doing what was natural to it. You need to protect your livestock better.
Isn't it natural to kind of kill and eat animals?
No, it's not. We're actually obligate frugivores. We can't.
No, I mean in terms of human evolution, it's kind of just normal behaviour for the massive majority of the population. You're perfectly entitled not to buy into it, but you can't really describe it as somehow alien to human culture to eat animals.
Well, you use the word normal, and if you look at the
normal as in statistical majority. Normal as in it's psychopathic to eat meat.
Yes.
Okay.
If you look at no, I wasn't talking about eating meat. I'm talking about killing animals. Which
well, you've got to kill them first. You've got to kill them first, surely.
Clinical psychology.
We can agree on that. You should kill them before you eat them. We can both agree on that, surely.
When it's completely unnecessary to do it, I don't see any reason to do it in the first place.
No, but you'd rather I killed it before eating it as opposed to taking a bite out of a living animal.
Actually, one of the arguments I regularly use with people is if you're going to tell me you're a carnivore and omnivore, you should be able to chase down a squirrel in the street, grab it and eat it. Eat it raw, eat it live. Only then will I not have a problem with you consuming meat.
Do you get invited to a lot of dinner parties, Laura?
I throw a lot of dinner parties, and all my vegan friends come round, and we laugh about people that eat corpses.
Well, they eat corpses, crikey. But I just at least agree that it's better to eat them when they're dead, not when they're alive. If you have to eat them, if you are a corpse munching psychopath,
you're a corpse eater. Yeah.
Corpse eater. I've enjoyed this, Laura. I don't think we're going to agree with each other on it, but I'm glad we've managed to keep things friendly. Oliver is in Ringwood, in the heart of the New Forest, beautiful part of the world. Oliver, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say that, in my opinion, it's all very well hunt saboteurs coming on to private land to try and prosecute fox hunting, which they deem to be taking place illegally, but surely the saboteurs are breaking the law by trespassing in the first place.
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to know precisely what the provenance of this field was and what the laws governing trespass was specific to this field. But as a general observation, I presume that saboteurs break more laws in the pursuit of their project than the hunts people do, even if they are breaking the Hunting Act 2004. I think that's the point you're making.
Yeah. And also, I think it's interesting how they don't... You know, they're going out their way to put themselves in danger going in front of a horse. This would never be a problem if they just didn't turn up in the first place.
Yeah, but you heard Laura. I mean, this is genuinely a passion. This is a firmly held moral conviction, and I'm quite a big fan of firmly held moral convictions. She believes that all forms of killing animals are wrong, not just doing it for fun in the context of fox hunting. And I suppose if you can imagine where that sits on her list of priorities, it in some ways undermines your argument because you don't consider it anywhere near as important as she does.
Yeah, I see that, and I mean I do a lot of kind of deer management and stuff, and yes. I can see the connection between what needs to be done. You know, we're not what we were several hundred years ago. We need to address the balance of our own natural predators for.
Yeah, and it seems to me there should be a little bit more room for live and let live. But then, you know, I suppose you're a corpse eater like me, are you, Oliver?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, God, crikey, can't roll on lunchtime. Gagging for a corpse.
Hello, good afternoon to you. I want to use a video that is on LBC's website to prompt a conversation with you, if I may. If you head to the website, lbc.co.uk, you will see a woman on horseback repeatedly whipping a hunt saboteur with a riding crop during a pretty furious confrontation, which was caught on camera. The hunt saboteur was trying to get the woman to get off her horse and to stop a hunt, presumably, and she really fights back. I mean, my instinct when I watched this video was to be very much on the side of the horsewoman and the horse. And, you know, horses can be... I've done a bit of riding in the past, I don't do it now, but they can be very easily freaked out. And I can hear you already saying so can foxes. We'll get on to the foxes in a minute. But they can be very easily freaked out, and they're big animals. They're big, powerful animals. And the guy who took on the horse and the horsewoman was making a huge mistake in terms of safety, his own safety, her safety, the horse's safety, and the safety of people who were around them, if there were any people around them. Go to lbc.co.uk and have a look at this footage, because I think seeing it will help with the broader conversation I want to have around humans and animals, and human beings' relationship with the notion of animal welfare, because it's been a journey, as they say, that we've been on for a long time now in this country. And from a personal point of view, my feelings about it, my views of it, ebb and flow quite a lot. Two of my closest friends, one of them since we were 4 years of age, has a really deep affinity with animals. And she had pets as a child. We didn't really, not any sort of substantial pets in our house, because there were 7 kids, and my mum quite rightly thought that was quite enough to be dealing with. But this friend has continued throughout life to have a real affinity with animals, and she and other friends of mine are animal rights campaigners, animal welfare campaigners. I don't think any of them, certainly not her, but I don't think any of them that I know have gone on to be hunt saboteurs and the like, but I know that they would support the hunt saboteurs. So we've had many conversations about this over the years. One of the friends I'm talking about is a vegan, the other is a vegetarian. I'm neither. And the whole video, of course, central to it is the question of how animal rights activists are active, how they try and sabotage the wrong things that they believe other people are doing. Of course, that's central to the video a bit, but I don't want it just to be central to our conversation this hour, because since seeing that video and having a think about, for example, how I eat, which is quite vegetarian, but not fully, and not for political reasons. And I have deep affinity with some animals, but not with others. I mean, I'm going to come clean and say I don't really have an affinity with foxes. I don't get exercised by fox hunting. But seeing a gorilla in a zoo reduced me to tears. Seeing a horse under attack could reduce me to tears, because I think they trump other animals. Is there a hierarchy of animals? 0345 6060 973, the number to call. You can text 84850 or tweet at LBC. You can add the destruction of elephants to that list of animal rights issues that I really do care about. But others I don't. Just trying to get a sense from you as to where your sympathies lie, not just with the people in this video, but more broadly with the whole question of animal welfare and farming. Welfare as well, in that animal welfare in farming is part of that. Here to talk with me about this is Lee Moon, spokesperson for the Hunt Saboteurs Association, and Chris Pitt, Deputy Director for the League Against Cruel Sport. So in many ways, both coming from a similar position, different approaches perhaps, but a similar position on this. Lee and Chris, good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Lee, just respond to my concern and other people's concerns, particularly as expressed on James's programme this morning, about the way this hunt saboteur in the video went about his business.
Okay, so just to clarify what you said about that video, you're wrong, actually. The hunt saboteur wasn't trying to get the woman to dismount her horse. He was trying to get her to stop attacking him and his colleagues. So the video clearly shows that she'd ridden at speed at members of the saboteur group and was trying to ride them down. And the saboteur grabbed the reins purely to try and stop her causing further damage. And as we can see, she then lashed out at him repeatedly with her riding crop.
So when I hear the voice saying, get off the horse, that's her voice, is it?
No, that's a saboteur, because she's already attempted to ride at them. So she's attacked them, and they are trying to defend themselves.
By dragging her off the horse?
No, they're clearly not trying to drag her off the horse. They're trying to hold the reins.
But why was he saying get off the horse?
You can clearly see from the video that they're not trying to drag her off the horse. They're trying to stop her from attacking them.
But they're encouraging her to get off the horse. Is that right?
That may be the case, but they're clearly not dragging her off. And they're also not... Yes, they're not trying to drag her off the horse.
So this is an attack.
She's the attacker in this instance. Anyone who watches the video, that's quite clear.
Tell me typically what the tactic would be then of a saboteur in that setting, in a field full of horses being ridden in a hunt.
Well, we're not interested in that rider because she's not the huntsman, so she wouldn't be the one who would be controlling the hounds, and the hounds would be killing the foxes. We are an organisation that believes in non-violent direct action. We believe that the safety and the lives of all animals are important. So it's not just about the foxes, it's about the horses and it's about the hounds. So we wouldn't do anything actually that endangers any animal.
Could he have, I'll take you at your word. I mean, I interpret that video rather differently to you, but maybe there's stuff leading up to it that I haven't seen, so I'll take you at your word. Could he, rather than grabbing the horse's bit, I mean, I'd love to know whether this individual had ever been on a horse, but rather than grabbing the horse's bit in the way that he did, in a heated situation already, could he have just gone away?
I would argue that if you've already got someone who's riding a horse at you at speed, you're going to do anything possible to try and save yourself and the lives of your friends who are next to you.
Wouldn't common sense tell you to dodge the 1.5 ton of animal and the woman with the stick?
Clearly what he's doing.
He's not trying to dodge. No, forgive me. He's not trying to dodge the animal. He's grabbing it by the bit.
He's holding the lead. He's holding the reins and then he's moving away from it. You can clearly see that in the video. I don't think anyone would be stupid enough to put themselves in the way of a 1.5 ton horse.
Well, let me bring Chris Pitt in on this, Deputy Director of the League Against Cruel Sports. You don't use tactics like this, do you?
We don't. Can I just quickly add in? I mean, I think what you've seen there, Sheila, and what a lot of the media put out was an edited version of that video, which starts at a man holding the horse and the woman trying to get him off. The 20 seconds or so before that is vital if you want the whole picture, because it's, as Lee said, the sabs are just wandering along and then the horse rider starts going after them and pushing them with the horse, and you can see the horse is going after one particular person.
Yeah, but the
man who
saboteur
grabs it tries to stop.
Right.
Tries to stop them.
Okay, I accept that. But the saboteur isn't just wandering along, is he? He's trying to sabotage the hunt.
Yeah, but what that actually means in reality is just basically keeping an eye, making sure that no illegal activity takes place. I mean, as you say, we're...
With a mask on?
A lot of the hunt supporters have masks on as well, because it does get to that point where people don't want to be recognised, but the hunt supporters equally wear masks, so that's not really a key point. So can I say, so from the League Against Cruel Sports, say we monitor hunts to make sure that illegal activity isn't taking place. So we tend not to be close up as the hunt sabs do.
You film them, don't you?
Yeah, we film them.
Is that legal?
Yeah, absolutely. If you film your people from a distance to see if illegal activity is taking place, which we have seen on many occasions. So this isn't about just trying to stop hunting for the sake of it. It's trying to stop animal cruelty. What you're seeing with the situation at the moment is that hunts are going out and they call it trail hunting. So if I may quickly, very quick, history lesson, is that basically prior to the Hunting Act coming in, there was something called drag hunting, which was a legal sport. It's been going around for 200 years, very traditional. It's what you'd expect to see on a hunt, except that the hounds are trained to follow a non-animal based scent. So the chances of them killing an animal is very rare. Nobody generally is going after, the people who are protesting against hunts don't tend to go after drag hunts because animals aren't killed. So you'd think when the Hunting Act came in, those hunts who were killing animals, if they wanted to act legally, they would have just switched across to drag hunting. But none of them did. So they invented something called trail hunting. And this looks very similar to drag hunting, except the hounds are still trained to follow an animal-based scent. So what happens is they're out and about. The hounds may pick up a scent of a fox, or it could be a hare or a deer. They chase it, they kill it, and then the hunt says, it was an accident. We couldn't help it.
And you both, and Lee, feel free to come back in on this as well. You both feel it's your business to police this.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
the police don't police it. It's an illegal act. It's morally wrong, and we're happy that it's our place to police it. Yes. Chris,
feel the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's illegal activity. If illegal activity is taking place, then yes, we'd like the police to be keeping an eye on it, but we know that the resources are low. So it comes to a situation, similar to the RSPCA, for example. If there's a situation where an RSPCA investigator finds out about an animal abuse and goes to check it out, that's kind of similar to what's happening here, because the police haven't got the powers necessarily or the resources to go and do that for them. This isn't just made up. We've got like 10 years of reports looking into trail hunting, and which is why we believe that it's a clinical subterfuge trying to sort of fool the people and fool the police.
And Lee, can I ask you why specifically, or perhaps both of you actually, why do foxes matter so much to you? And I genuinely don't mean to be flippant when I talk about a hierarchy of animals, because I am just being frank. I can't get exercised about fox hunting in the way that I can about the welfare of gorillas or the welfare of horses or the welfare of people getting a pet for Christmas and then being cruel to it and all of those things, you know, for people being responsible for those kinds of things. But I mean, I may be completely in the wrong here, but why does it matter so much, Lee?
I don't think we do put the foxes above other animals, and I don't believe there is a hierarchy. Most hunt saboteurs are vegan. Most hunt saboteurs will be involved in other forms of animal rights campaigning. This is just one aspect of what we do. So we're not putting the foxes above other animals. As I say, we believe in the well-being of the horses and the hounds. But we believe that fox hunting is a cruel sport. It's morally reprehensible, and it's our duty to try and stop it.
Chris Pitt?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think... I mean, I know where you're coming from, Sheila. I think I kind of understand it, and maybe people who are getting into this kind of think the same thing. There was an interesting story. You may have heard of Cecil the lion a couple of years ago.
Yes, of course.
The lion that got... And that was caused outrage because of the lion being killed. And it was a well-known lion that was killed. It caused outrage globally. Why is that different to a fox being chased and killed by a hunt? And you could go, okay, well, yeah, why? Well, yeah, we love lions. Well, so, yeah, so are they prettier than foxes? I don't know. Do they? Oh, well, foxes kill animals. Well, so do lions.
Is it the rarity?
It's a rarity. I mean, but the population of foxes is going down in this country. A fox is a British, a wonderful British animal. But the point being is that all animals should have that same protection. And we're the League Against Cruel Sport, so we're opposing people who kill animals for fun. So that's bullfighting, it's trophy hunting. And it's fox hunting, it's deer hunting. So our point is that, you know, whatever the animals, a hare, whether you like hares or not like hares, the rules should be the same. Don't kill them for fun. And that's what hunts do. They'll try and claim that they're actually trying to kill the foxes because they need it to be some kind of pest control. That's not true. That's not what they're there for.
You think it becomes wrong once it's turned into a sport rather than a farming process?
Absolutely. Obviously, a lot of people don't agree with farming processes either, but that's a different issue. For us, League Against Cruel Sports, when you're doing it for fun, that's wrong. How can you possibly justify that? So you may get upset about Cecil being shot or a bull being killed in a bullfight, but the pheasants, the millions of pheasants that are killed every year for shooting, most of which do not end up in the pot. Why is that different? And that's what we're trying to say.
Thank you very much to both of you. Chris Pitt, Deputy Director for League Against Cruel Sports, and thanks to Lee Moon, spokesperson for the Hunt Saboteurs Association. Take into account what both gentlemen said when you view that video, but do go and have a look. It's on the LBC website for anyone who wants to take a look, lbc.co.uk. Your calls in just a moment on this question of whether, for you, is there a hierarchy of animals? I'm sure that I'm wrong, but I'm just telling you honestly how I feel about this. For me, there very much is a hierarchy of animals. What about you? 0345 6060 973, the number to call. Text 84850 or tweet at LBC. Also, some breaking news. The former Scottish Labour leader, Kezia Dugdale, we are told will not face suspension by the party over her appearance as a contestant on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. There you go. Anna has called from Bolcombe and Robert in Leigh-on-Sea to talk about this hierarchy of animals that I've put out there. It's just how I feel about animals. Some of them I would fight tooth and nail for, others I would not. Am I wrong? 0345 6060 973. What's prompted this conversation in me is a video on the LBC website of a hunt saboteur and a rider in open combat. Basically, go and have a look at it, lbc.co.uk. Diana, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Sheila.
Do you hunt?
No, I don't hunt myself. I do ride, but I don't hunt. However, I do go out on small pheasant shoots, and we had several incidents of hunt saboteurs coming onto our shoot over the last few years, which are incredibly distressing. I understand this hierarchy of animals thing. They will say that, we're distressing the pheasants by killing them. On a small shoot, the pheasants are eaten. So why these people came out of nowhere? They're dressed in black, they're dressed in masks, they're on private land, they know trespass laws inside out. They come running at you small children, old men screaming at these small children, old men spitting on you, standing in front of you 2 foot away from you with a camera in your face, poking you in the shoulder, trying to get you to respond. They sprayed citronella all over the birds on the game park, so it rendered them completely uneatable. They sprayed citronella into the eyes of some of the shoot dogs. So these people are rent-a-mob thugs. I'm not saying all of them have a passionate feeling for animals or hierarchy of animals, but I'm also very aware I'm just outside Brighton, and there are lots of people going around Sussex University offering money to come out of a weekend and basically have a bit of a ruck, have a bit of a fight with people. And, you know, there isn't passion there isn't intelligence. It's just, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying to be on the end of a sabotage.
So you reject, I can't remember whether it was Chris or Lena, apologies to them, the statement that both sides hide their faces.
Oh, absolutely. I've never ever had anybody on a shoot ever hide their face. I've never had anybody prepared on a shoot for people to come charging at them with cans of citronella spray and CS gas and sorts of different things to cause. Well, I've never seen people stand 10 foot from an 11-year-old and call them the worst possible name in the world to their face in front of their parents to try and provoke a response from their parents so that they can then start filming and then say what thugs we are. It's unbelievable how one-sided it is when you get attacked by saboteurs, so I have every sympathy for the lady on the horse. And
when Chris says the killing of any animal for any sport is unconscionable, what do you say?
I have never killed animals for sport. We go out and I've got recipe books.
Well, shooting is a sport, isn't it?
The game. Shooting is a sport. Shooting is a sport.
Well, you shoot, don't you?
I don't shoot. No, I've never raised a gun in my life.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said
gun dogs. I work gun dogs on shoots, so I collect the birds that guns have.
Yeah, but that's part of the sport, isn't it? That process of collection, and you know, you're involved.
Absolutely, because I'm working my gun dogs. I'm not saying that it isn't sport. What I'm saying is that this is something that can't. The response can be justified. The police helicopters come in and they can do nothing. They can do nothing with these people except treat them as trespassers.
All right, Diana, I'm going to leave it there because your line is breaking up a little bit. Thank you for your call. Robert in Leigh-on-Sea, hello.
Good afternoon, young lady. How are you?
I'm okay, Robert. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Bit annoyed about them two chaps. Understand everyone's got their own opinions to animals and things like that, but to say that foxes are on the decline, you see them everywhere. I leave home 5 o'clock every morning. I've got 3 in my back garden.
I had 2 on my doorstep once years ago, and I used to work very early. I opened the front door and they were on my doorstep as if to say, hiya, you coming out?
One was on my back. Terrible. I've got a shed looking into my back kitchen. It was set up there as big as a scaffy. I grew up on a farm many years ago in a little village called Castle Headingham, and we used to have the hunt. To me, it's not killing it's killing a wild animal which causes trouble. They are classed as vermin. A fox is classed as vermin.
Well, by you maybe, but that's the problem. They're not vermin to other people. Some local authorities, if someone can enlighten me on this, please call and do so. I think I'm right in saying some local authorities now have the right to shoot foxes, don't they? If it's regarded as a vermin scenario or a danger in somebody's garden. Enlighten me on that one. 0345 6060 973, the number to call. You can text 84850 or tweet at LBC. Murad has called from Reading. Hello.
Hi, Sheila. I have just watched a video, actually, the one you're talking about, and I'm actually gobsmacked that you can see that video in any way in favour of the woman riding the horse. You can clearly see her driving into riding into them, and then like ferociously beating the man when he's clearly trying to stop her from going, and maybe it's not a clever thing to do to hold the horse, but in that position, You're not actually thinking of the best way to deal with it. You just weren't trying to stop that woman riding into them, and then she ferociously beats him. And after she's done with him, she moves on to another guy who wasn't holding her horse, and she gives him a couple of whips. It is this. I mean, I don't know how you.
But have you ever been on a horse, Murad?
I have been on a horse. Yes.
You know how easily freaked they are.
Of course. But you have to understand, from the person standing there and having a horse ridden at them, and then you sort of don't know what to do in that situation, because I bet you weren't in that position where someone riding a horse at you. So yes, I may agree with you. You shouldn't be holding a horse, but nevertheless, you shouldn't be riding at someone with a horse and then beating the hell out of them with a whip. I mean,
but what about the backdrop to this matters, doesn't it? The context of this matters. If that was a man out with his family in a field and a person on a horse did that, it would be, you could argue it might be the scenario as you describe it. But I don't think it is fully as you describe it, simply because of the context of the thing.
Okay, regarding the context, I mean, there's no excuse for somebody riding at someone and whipping them crazy like
If a man with a mask on his face grabbed hold of my horse's bit, I would beat the living daylights out of him if I had a whip in my hand.
Okay. Now, if you were just riding along a path and he just comes out of nowhere and just grabs your horse when you were doing nothing, then yes, I couldn't agree with you more. But that wasn't the case.
But he'd come into that field to disrupt that horse, had he not?
Not to the horse, but he was disrupting the whole the event.
Well,
they were trying to disrupt.
Which is horses riding through fields.
Not really.
What it is? That's precisely what's going on in that field. It's why he's in there, with his face covered, and I repeat, with his face covered. Anyone who hides their face, they're already down the list as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but Sheila, if they were all just riding in a horse in a field and just doing that, and their intention is to do absolutely nothing but ride horses in the field, I don't think that man will be there trying to stop anything. Do you understand?
I do understand it, but he was.
Yeah, okay. So I know. We're just going tit for tat now. But regarding the actual the point, regarding the point of you asked the question, why do I have animals? Well, I feel towards them,
Well, do you feel the same towards every animal? I just don't.
No, I do not. No, I do not. You're absolutely right. I do not feel, foxes don't make me feel warm and fuzzy and makes me feel like I want to give them a cuddle. Not at all. Right. But nevertheless, my feeling towards them shouldn't affect the way or realizing what's right in the way they are treated. Like, for example, the Grand National and horse racing and dog races and all that. I find them all morally reprehensible. Animals' lives shouldn't be used as sport for our entertainment. There's plenty of things to keep us entertained, but treating animals in this despicable way shouldn't be. And if they are vermin, I understand sometimes.
Well, I can't agree with you about race horses. You won't find animals more loved or cared for than race horses, it seems to me. Thank you very much, Murad, though, for your call. I don't think we are going to agree on much. 0345 6060 973. Is there a hierarchy of animals? 84850, the number to text. You can tweet at LBC and go and see that video of the hunt saboteur and the rider in combat. It's at lbc.co.uk. We'll talk after 3:45, just after the break, about the Zimbabwean situation. The Zimbabwean Parliament has now started impeachment proceedings against President Robert Mugabe. We'll talk to a Zimbabwean journalist who'll join me in the studio, actually. We'll talk about the implications of all of that for Zimbabwe and the likelihood that Robert Mugabe will actually finally yield and hand over his power. Who knows? Let's see. Jack has called from Loughton, though, and Nigel in Narberth, I hope I said that right, to talk about animal rights, animal welfare, and whether there is a kind of hierarchy of animals when it comes to those we should fight tooth and nail for. Hello, Jack.
Hiya.
Hello.
Sheila.
You've looked at the video of the rider and the saboteur.
I have, yes.
What do you see?
Personally, I mean, like I say, I haven't seen all of the video. What you see may not be the whole story, but from what I can see, the saboteurs have approached an open ground, and if you're on the horse, obviously you've got a higher viewpoint, and it seems to me that the rider has ridden the horse into the people, if that makes sense, into the saboteurs, which is not really responsible as a rider, to do that to the horse.
But if the way I see it, just slightly differently to you, is if somebody with a face mask starts to come towards the hunt that I am on, they mean me harm. They mean me trouble.
Yes, that is true. I mean, but I would say if you're on a horse, you know, the horse is faster than the man. You know, you can turn and move out the way a lot quicker. And don't forget, Sheila, these horses are not police horses. They're not trained for crowds. You know, this is a normal horse, as you say. The race.
Yeah. But also, I'm glad you mentioned the police, because the other reason I'm minded to support the rider, not the saboteur, is who are these people with masks on their face policing the country? They're not the police.
That is true. That's true. Yeah, yeah.
You know, if they were doing it for any other sort of break in the law, any other crime, we wouldn't have this relaxed approach. It's fine for them to go and sabotage. It's fine for them to go and film people when they're going about their leisure time. It's not fine. It isn't fine.
Mm.
Would you welcome it? I wouldn't welcome it.
No, I wouldn't welcome it. But I do think the lady was putting the horse in an awkward position. You know, because as a rider, you wouldn't use the horse as a vehicle. You know, you would just stay clear because she could avoid them. It seems to me it was an open field, so therefore you could see what was coming. You know, I mean, it seemed like that. Anyway, I could be wrong.
So, and as to the hierarchy of animals, do you feel it as well, or is it just me?
To a degree, I do. Yes, I mean, to a degree. I mean, you know, like for example, rats or vermin. I'd put them on the lower end of the scale compared to certain other animals. You know, if that makes sense. Or
we had people calling in earlier who loved rats.
Yeah, I heard Lady James earlier. I don't know if you heard it earlier, saying that.
I did. Yeah.
Rats go on.
I did hear it that she loved rats. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not buying it. Are you? They're not on the same scale as a horse.
I don't think so.
Or a gorilla or a dog.
Yeah, I definitely put them on a high tier. Definitely.
Thank you very much for your call, Jack. Jack in Loughton. Let me read a couple of your tweets and text as well. Plenty of them. If and it seems that way from what people have written, it seems as though they've all had a look at this video and they all feel the way I do about the saboteur and the rider. If I was riding a horse and someone grabbed the reins, I would be mad. I don't support fox hunting. We don't know what's going on in that picture, but no one should prevent or interfere with the riding of a horse. It's potentially dangerous to the rider and the horse, and of course the interferer as well. He can't grab the horse. That's outrageous. He deserves what he gets, says this tweet. And just one more before we speak to Spencer in Derby. I am not a hunting supporter, but have even less time for vegan animal activists and hunt saboteurs. They have their own agenda and are happy to use violence and intimidation to further it. My sympathy is with the rider. I remember Huntington Life Sciences protests. Dug up corpses, fire bombings, etc. I knew a woman whose brother was a vegan hunt sab. She couldn't invite him to a dinner party as he hated people who eat meat and would kick off, says Derek. Animals are ranked for desirability. It's called the Disney effect. It's okay to kill some and not others, purely based on the cuteness factor, says Russell on Twitter. Spencer in Derby, hello.
Hi, Sheila. I'm a first-time caller, so be gentle with me, please.
I will. You are a hunter, or you used to hunt?
I used to hunt, yeah. Then your comment made me chuckle earlier, actually, when you stated that if somebody had grabbed your horse's bit. I hunted for several years, and at the time, we used to have hunt saboteurs that used to attack us, that used to put barbed wire across to cause injury to horses. They used to try and injure us. And I've watched the video, and I fully agree that with the lady, if I was the person sat on that horse, these people there, they're there to cause harm, to stop the hunt. And not just that, they're there to cause harm and injury to people that are riding the horses and horses. So when you're in that situation, you have to defend not both yourself, but also the horse. So I fully support what she did. And actually, I think he got away quite lightly.
My biggest problem is the mask that he's wearing.
Yeah, absolutely, because they are thugs. I'm not saying all saboteurs, some are there because they feel they have a legitimate reason, but there's a lot of hunt saboteurs that are there that are absolute thugs and are there with, a criminal mind, which is to cause harm and injury, not, to the riders, but also to the horses and the...
Oh, we've lost you. We've lost you, Spencer. Good to talk to you anyway. Pro hunting, former hunter. Nigel in Narberth. Hello.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. You have lots of pets and they are all equal, you say?
They are, yes, that's right. We've even got rats, but not pet rats. And our local fox enjoys having his dinner from time to time with a rat. So
you have rats in your house?
No, we have rats we've got a small holding, little sort of animal sanctuary type thing. We've got wild rats, and in the natural way of things.
Oh, so yours is an actual animal sanctuary?
It is an artificial animal sanctuary, yes, but they're our pets in effect, all rescued. So we've got 30 sheep and 2 dogs, 3 ponies.
And do you have a kind of, is your belief that all animals, from the tiniest insect to the greatest gorilla, deserves the same respect?
Yeah, absolutely. If I have a spider in the house or a fly in the house, I'll try and catch it and put it out if we can. That sort of thing. If it's causing a problem, well, ideally I'll leave it where it is. But yeah, we just feel that. It's not just about animals. I'm a vegan. I'm not a hunt saboteur, but I have protested at hunts before. Basically, we believe all beings should have respect and compassion towards them. Not just animals. So, I would, in the same way as I would help any person who I saw in trouble, I will help any animal that I see in trouble.
And you would equate the two?
Yeah, absolutely.
All God's creatures and all that?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
Okay, Nigel, thank you for your call. Nigel in Narberth. We'll hear from Dal in Southend-on-Sea in a moment. 0345 6060 973. lbc.co.uk to see that video of the hunt saboteur and the rider in... armed combat, I suppose, or certainly one of them's armed. 0345 6060 973. Is there a hierarchy of animals or not? 0345 6060 973.